Yes, ma'am.
I just have two questions that I really, really need to ask. One is, I'm sorry. What does it take to hear from the Lord, and how do we go about sharing the gospel to other people? Because I've been frustrated by these things for years, and I really feel led recently to go out and do these things, but I don't want to just jump on people, and just like freak people out and stuff and turn them further away from the Lord. And I really, really would like to hear from the Lord so that I can actually do what he wants and not just what I feel like he wants me to do or what I think he wants me to do. So, sorry, I'm crying. I've just been really stressed. What does it take to have those things known to you?
To hear from the Lord? Well, look, I have never in my life had a lightning bolt come from heaven with a note attached to the end that said, "Do this, signed God." Never. Have any of you? Okay. To hear the voice, you got to be in communication. It has to be a relationship. To recognize that voice. If we don't converse with him, if we don't spend time in prayer, we don't spend time in relationship, and we've got all these other things going on in our lives, it can be hard to recognize his voice. My sheep know my voice. So we have to spend that time in that relationship and getting to the point where we recognize his voice. And I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying that is very, very important. But even then, and I'll admit it, there are times that I'm like, is that you or is that me? And I'm not the only one who's done that, right? Okay? And what I have found is that sometimes it is me. Usually when I feel like it's him speaking to me, it's because he's asking or requiring something of me that I don't want to do. I don't think he ever speaks to me in a way, or any of us in a way, that is going to be soothing to my flesh and to my will and to my desire and what I want to do. It's usually the opposite, So that's for me, that's how I see it. There are times, when we're in the middle of a service, that I feel like he impresses upon me to say something or to do something. And it's just that through the years that I've learned to recognize that voice, that I don't want to use the wrong word, impulse, But don't be freaking or stressing over it, Just spend time in prayer and filtering out all the other voices and all the other influences and all the other chatter, okay? As far as, sharing these things with people, now, I know that there will be people who will disagree with what I'm about to say, but this is just, my position on the matter. The best witness to anyone is living this, doing what he said to do. Don't do the things he said don't do, and to be consistent about it. You don't necessarily have to trumpet it every day and get on the street corner and, get a megaphone and blast it out to people. Even some of those people kind of get under my skin, okay? But we do have to live it. We have to produce that fruit. And it is my experience that hungry people will come for the fruit. If you're producing that fruit in your life and you're living a set-apart life and you're being consistent about it, the hungry people that you come in contact with will want to know why. Why are you different? Tell me about it. That is not to say that there aren't those occasions when the Father brings somebody into your life. They might be walking down the road drenched in the rain, that he impresses upon you to go and to reach out to that person, and you find yourself in a situation where you're sharing the gospel, being a witness to them in those kinds of situations. I've been on airplanes and just be talking to somebody, and all of a sudden the conversation turns to spiritual matters, and they're asking me what do you do, and I tell them what I do, and well, that's interesting. Tell me about it. And before you know it, we're having a very, very deep conversation about life and truth and the things that pertain to the kingdom. So I guess what I'm trying to say in that regard, I don't know that there's a formula you follow other than you just live this life. And if you produce the fruit, He'll bring hungry people to you. You don't have to worry about that, because there's plenty of hungry people in the world who are searching. Many, many, many years ago, long before you were born, there used to be this program about sharing the good news. It was called Evangelism Explosion. And y'all remember that? It was put out by, what was James Kennedy, the church down in South Florida? I can't remember. What was it? Coral Ridge, yeah. They're the ones that kind of come up with this program. And so they had this thing, it was called Evangelism Explosion. And so the church that Beth and I were in at the time wanted all the staff to go through Evangelism Explosion. They're going to teach you how you witness to somebody. And you wore a pen that had 2 question marks on it. And the idea was they were supposed to see the pen with the 2 question marks and, hey, what does that pen mean? Well, I'm glad you asked. I have 2 questions for you. All right? And that was supposed to lead, and they had all the verses that you were to memorize and go through. And so they would send us out to visitation and all this kind of stuff. And so you'd be in the room with these people and who didn't invite you. Can I ask you a question? Well, if you really have to, I was in the middle of supper, but anyway, you understand what I'm trying to say here? If people aren't interested, they're not going to listen. Even what we read tonight, Peter was saying to a group of people, you ignorantly crucified the Lord of glory because you weren't paying attention. All right? But now that I've got your attention, I've got something to tell you. You understand what I'm trying to say? I wouldn't stress over it. Just live the life. Study, read, pray, live the life. Have a relationship with Him. And if it's buried deep within your heart, when you come in contact with people and y'all get into a conversation, it's just going to be, the passion is going to be within you. And if they're hungry people, they're going to want to eat of the fruit. All right? So I know that's probably not the answer you were looking for.
No, that was really helpful. Thank you.
All right.